Well, it's so cold out today, I saw a Democrat with his hands in his own pockets. Ha ha, hee hee, ho ho. That's a joke I stole from Austin Peterson, a regular guest on our show running against Claire McCaskill in the state of Missouri. No, but I found this joke to be timely because you've got this huge chill rushing in to the United States right now just before New Year's from the AccuWeather website. Another Arctic blast poised to usher in 2018. The temperatures are absolutely freezing. I'm supposed to live in Austin, Texas, yet I'm dealing with winter. And even though this is a total failure for the talking point of man-made global warming, the frauds and phonies and deceivers in the Democrat Party are trying to twist this and pretend like this was their point the whole time. So we need to hold their feet to the fire on this because they were dead wrong. But not only were they dead wrong, because it's one thing to be wrong. It's another thing entirely to be consciously deceiving, consciously lying. And that's really what these people were doing. So we should never let Al Gore live down the fact, not only was An Inconvenient Truth, his documentary, completely 100% wrong. You watch An Inconvenient Truth now, you realize that everything Al Gore said that was, he said as a fact in that documentary was actually totally wrong. But even just 9 years ago, Al Gore predicted the North Pole would be completely ice-free by today. They said the same thing about the South Pole, and then they went on an excursion to the South Pole, and the boat got frozen in ice. They didn't expect to find any ice. They thought they would go right up to land, and they got stuck in ice. So they realized that, well, you know what? That's not even true. They didn't realize that global warming was a hoax. Instead, the Democrats twisted the narrative in order to avoid embarrassment and exposure to climate change, and then just like good brainwashed minions do, all of their followers went along with the narrative. And let's just recall that Al Gore was the vice president of this country, a total lying buffoon who said the polar ice caps would be gone. There would be no ice on the North Pole today, according to Al Gore. But then what's in the news? Arctic blast poised to usher in 2018. I wonder when Al Gore is going to retract his statements on global warming and the like. But look at all these tweets from Democrats today. Tulsi Gabbard, the OFT Act sets a goal of attaining 100% of our energy from renewable sources by 2035. If we work together, we can hasten our clean energy transformation to save the environment and compete in the 21st century global economy. Actually, by removing these acts, by removing the burdensome legislation, President Trump has made America now competitive in the 21st century global economy. So sorry, Tulsi Gabbard, you're 100% wrong on this. And here's my other issue, because I don't honestly have a big issue with Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think she's that bad. I disagree with her on this. But where are all the Democrats that aren't flying on their big jets? Where are all the actors that go around talking about climate change and saving the planet, not flying around on big jets, not going yachting, not driving fancy cars? They are total frauds. None of them put their money where their mouth is. We all like having a high standard of living. We like having heated homes. Let's stop acting like we're going to sacrifice our standard of living because of some fake climate change claim. This is The War Room. I am your host, Owen Schroyer. The final broadcast of The War Room for 2017. It's Friday, December 29th, 2017. Thank everybody for joining us today. I've got a lot of news here I hope to get to. I doubt I'll be able to get to all of it because we have a stacked show with guests today. At 3:30 Central in the first hour, Dr. Jerry Corsi will be joining me. And then in the third hour, Craig Sawyer joins me to talk about the latest developments in his Vets for Child Rescue campaign. And then Jack Posobiec at 5:30 Central joins me to just discuss the waterfront of news right now, where you have quote-unquote liberal journalists write one story months ago claiming Trump said something untrue, and then a few months later, they write the exact story with the headline that Trump said. I mean, it's like you can't even make this stuff up. But as I was discussing in the opening segment, you've got a huge winter chill happening in the United States as 2018 comes along. And you've got all these Democrats that pushed, the man-made global warming hoax for years with fake science. Now they've been embarrassed. They're total frauds. They're total idiots. And the man-made global warming thing has completely died out because the quote-unquote evidence and the quote-unquote studies and the quote-unquote science that they used for us or tried to use it to show us for decades, well, it was all wrong. All of it. All of their measurements. Don't believe me? Just go watch Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. Go watch any of these Democrats speaking 10, 20 years ago on man-made global warming, and you'll see how wrong they actually are. But just to put this behind us here, let's look at a couple other Democrats that are still clinging to the man-made climate change thing and changing from global warming to climate change. How about Elizabeth Warren, the fake Indian? I'm going to say something really crazy. Okay, well, I don't know why she had to provide us that pre-statement. Everything she says is crazy. So we already knew that just by her speaking, it was going to be crazy. But I digress. I believe in science. Climate change is real, and we have a moral obligation to protect this earth from our children and grandchildren. For our children and grandchildren, excuse me. Okay. No one ever denied climate change was fake. In fact, it was us that was saying climate change while you were saying global warming. Isn't that amazing? They cry global warming, global warming, global warming. We say, wait a second, it's just climate change. Their global warming hoax narrative falls apart, and now they say climate change and act like we're the crazy people. But let's take this one step farther, just because Elizabeth Warren admitted she's crazy. She believes in science, she says. I will never understand this liberal double standard. They say they believe in science when they talk about climate change, even though they don't actually have the science to prove climate change is man-made. If anything, we have the science to prove that climate change is not man-made. But regardless, how do liberals cling to science when they talk about climate change, but ignore science when they talk about gender? Can somebody try to explain this to me? Liberalism is a mental disorder, and Elizabeth Warren is clearly infected. But how about Adam Schiff? So Donald Trump tweets out, in the East, it could be the coldest New Year's Eve on record. Perhaps we could use a little bit of that good old global warming that our country, but not other countries, was going to pay trillions of dollars to protect against. Bundle up. So that's clearly a flexing of the muscle for Donald Trump saying, I got us out of the Paris Climate Accord. Clearly man-made global warming is fake. I just saved us trillions of dollars for the Democrats' fake narrative. But pencil pusher, pencil neck Adam Schiff responds and says, very clever, Mr. President. Although the millions of families recovering from the worst hurricane and fire seasons on record may not appreciate such a fine sense of humor, since climate change may very well have claimed their homes and the lives of loved ones. Okay, so climate change is real. Climate change has been happening ever since the Earth existed. But now it's, wrong. I can't even wrap my head around this. It's like, hey, look at these hurricanes and fires that are happening, even though I believe a lot of these fires in California are terrorism, and who knows, these hurricanes could be man-made. I mean, we know that they create weather events. I mean, so that's the whole thing. But regardless, climate change has always happened. Climate change is not something new. I remember growing up and Tornado Alley, I grew up in St. Louis. Tornado Alley was always in Oklahoma and southwest of St. Louis. And then after 10, 15 years went by, Tornado Alley kind of moved a little bit northeast and ended up being right in St. Louis. That's climate change. Nobody's to blame for that. Nobody's trying to play politics with that. That's just climate change. That's just what happens. But see, they failed so badly and they've been so embarrassed by the global warming hoax failure that they're now trying to save their skin and just say climate change. So we cannot let them live this down. I'm not going to let these Democrats live their lies down. Okay? So I don't even know. I guess the solution is these people just need to be voted out of office. It's really an embarrassment. And then, you know, because this is here like this. Trump says Russian inquiry makes U.S. look very bad. This is from the New York Times. Yeah. You know that the whole world, except the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, and CNN, everyone else on planet Earth knows that the Russian collusion theory is fake, is made up, is a hoax. And so because we're still paying for this to go down, we're still paying for the Hillary Clinton fanboys and fangirls to try to bring Donald Trump down. Yeah, that's an embarrassment. When you have mainstream news outlets in America obsessing over some Russian collusion story that was made up and never happened, yes, that makes us look weak. When you have people marching in the street against Donald Trump over fake news, yes, that makes us look weak. And it's the exact same thing with the climate change crap. People like Adam Schiff, Elizabeth Warren, Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer, they make us look bad. They make the United States look bad. And not only do they make us look bad, their policies hurt us. It's just like Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard says, if we work together, we can hasten our clean energy transformation to save the environment and compete in the 21st century global economy. Well, here's the deal, Tulsi. We weren't competing in the 21st century global economy because we were shutting down our energy sectors and we were making bad trade deals that caused a massive deficit. So what happens now? Trump cuts taxes, cuts the corporate tax rate, which now makes us competitive on the global economy scale. And so what does China say? China is now offering tax incentives to persuade U.S. companies to stay. Do you get it, Tulsi Gabbard? Do you get it? Shutting down our energy sector and not building a business or a factory or what have you because of a tree frog or because of a, cinnamon root or something, that's not how you compete in the 21st century economy. That's how you bury yourself. And you know what? They want to say, oh, look at this person. He doesn't care that if we destroy the earth. Well, let me ask you something. Are you going to turn the heat off in your home to save planet Earth? Didn't think so. Are you going to stop driving a car to save planet Earth? No, didn't think so. Are any of these politicians crying for climate change, crying about man-made climate change? Are any of them going to stop driving their cars, stop flying on airplanes, stop riding in boats, stop heating their homes, multiple homes? Are any of them going to put any of their money where their mouth is? No. No. And I will tell you, Tulsi Gabbard, I don't think she's that bad. But this really rubs me the wrong way because I guarantee you the surfer girl, Tulsi Gabbard, is not going to stop driving cars and not going to stop heating her home, just like Al Gore and the rest of the fake Democrats with their fake man-made climate change. I just want to give the audience a friendly reminder. Studies have already shown that social media is unhealthy for you. And it can lead to depression and anxiety and a litany of other mental issues. And I don't want to obsess over this because I'd think of myself as a hypocrite. But I remember when I used to open my Twitter timeline and all I would see was Democrat double standards being exposed, liberal double standards being exposed, Hillary Clinton's lies being exposed, Barack Obama's scandals being exposed. But for whatever reason, the last 3 days, every time I open my Twitter timeline, it's a damn Joy Villa story. So I just want to remind everybody out there that if you have some sort of weird urge to tweet, like you have to do it, you might just want to put Twitter down for a second, all right? Twitter is not real life. And for everyone obsessing over this Joy Villa stuff, just remember, she has never represented government. She's never done anything really via the taxpayer or for the American people. She's a Twitter celebrity. She's a singer. So let's focus on the real issues, please. Okay, I'm just going to leave that right there. Now, one of the big issues that is going on right now is the tax bill. And what you have with, well, this is a similar story to what we saw for the entire 2017. The fake news liberal media creates a fake narrative, and then the liberal brainwashed zombies eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. See, Hillary Clinton will win the election. See, Donald Trump colluded with Russia. See, Donald Trump will crash the economy. The list goes on and on and on. And now the latest is the fake news media telling you that the Trump tax bill is actually going to increase your taxes. So all of these people are freaking out saying, oh my gosh, my taxes are going to increase. This is so bad. What am I going to do? I was already having a tough time making ends meet. Now what am I going to do because my taxes are going to increase? Well, they're turning to find out that that was a lie too. Now, this is a great piece put together by CBS. I'm going to have to talk over this because this is CBS's piece and we can't air the whole thing. But go ahead, roll this clip. This is families that CBS talked to discussing the effects of Trump's tax bill, and they were surprised to find they're all going to save money.
Most Americans will get a tax cut next year under the plan Congress passed this week, but figuring out exactly how much your family will save is tricky. Republicans say a typical family of four earning $73,000 a year will see taxes drop by more than $2,000. But circumstances can vary widely depending on factors like income, the number of children, or where you live. Tony Dokoupil set out to learn how the legislation will affect some taxpayers. Tony, good morning.
Good morning. Recent polls suggest a sizable number of Americans actually oppose this tax bill.
Do you hear that? That's because of fake news. Fake news tells them that Trump is bad, Trump wants to raise their taxes, and then they believe it.
Their tax returns, and then we had an accountant calculate how things will change for each of them.
So think about that. Fake news convinced people that cutting their taxes was bad for them.
The tax bill to the White House. Marcy George wondered if it would make a difference in her house.
It didn't seem as they were going along that it would really affect someone like me.
A single mother who rents a home in Cary, North Carolina. Her income last year as an administrative assistant was a little under $40,000.
Financially, I struggle. I live paycheck to paycheck. I make things work. I readjust and rearrange, but we do get by.
So will getting by get any easier? We brought her 2016 tax return to Jeffrey Levine, a certified public accountant at Blueprint Wealth Alliance on New York's Long Island.
If she were your client, what would you tell her?
I got good news for you, Marcy. You're getting more money back next year.
He says she'll benefit from a doubling of the child tax credit. And based on her returns last year, he estimates a savings of about $1,300 in taxes.
The Trump tax cut works.
In each paycheck, so that would be a good thing.
Amber,
there you go.
Jason
Fake news
Edwards
lied.
We're also hoping for some good news.
I hope it alleviates, pressure
This is so huge. This is so key. Because they can lie about President Trump all day long, but when people start seeing the results at their home, it's not going to matter.
As college educators, they took in more than $150,000 last year as they worked to pay down their student loans.
Financially, we're doing okay. We're certainly, not.
They were shocked at what they were about to find out.
Jason, who blogs about their finances, wanted to know how things would change.
I actually think they would pay tax on about $12,000 more of income, but because of the lower rates, they actually end up saving a little bit of money.
The Vine says the couple will switch to the newly increased
tax cuts work for them too,
which means a simpler return with no itemized deductions. He thinks they'd owe about $650 less than before.
Honestly, I'm a little surprised because...
Surprised? Do you hear that?
What you had said...
Well, I'm surprised. The fake news told me I was going to pay more. What's happening?
Have a higher tax bill.
I'm telling you, this is so devastating to the fake news. It's unreal.
Also expressed concern about next year's taxes.
This
is so huge.
Higher.
And by how much?
See, you hear
I
that?
don't know if
Oh, I thought I was going to get higher because that's what the propaganda
Married
told
with
me.
3 children, they own a home in Fresno, California. They opened a cycle studio last year, and Melissa is a pharmaceutical sales rep. Their combined income in 2016 was around $300,000.
We were doing well enough to take a risk and open up a small business in our town.
It's definitely hard work and definitely a lot of stress.
Small business
when
owners
we
taking
have,
risks.
So much of our worth on the line, so to speak.
Lane and Melissa are from California, very high income.
And they're from
tax state.
California.
So there are a lot of people worried, oh my goodness, this is really going to hurt me.
They thought it was going to be a big bill.
I'm not surprised. It actually is really going to help
Hear
them,
that?
though.
Levine
Wow.
says their itemized deductions, including breaks for state and local taxes, will be much lower. But they'll no longer be hit with the alternative minimum tax and will now qualify for child tax credits when they didn't before. Overall, he estimates they'll be responsible for nearly $13,000 less in taxes.
Now, did you hear all 3 of them said, I'm surprised, I thought my taxes were going to go up, I thought it was going to be worse, and then they all got a cut.
Families that we brought to you.
And see, this is why it's so key, because they can lie about Trump every which way, and in many of those ways, shapes, and forms, the rubber doesn't meet the road at home. But with this, it does.
And he says everything could change in a few years when many of these new provisions expire.
Good news for everybody, but I think you started a fight in the Edwards family here.
Indeed.
Okay, so, all right, guys, so that's enough of that. So here, but this is the thing, guys. It's just like you heard all of them say, I was surprised. I thought my taxes would go up. I was expecting the worst. Well, why? Why did they feel that way? What would have put that thought into their head with a tax cut? The fake news. So this is about to be a double-edged sword against the Democrats and against the fake news liberal media that told them they were about to get a tax raise, that told them Trump was going to raise their taxes. So now they sit here and that's what they think, expecting the worst. Then they get a tax cut. Then what happens? Then they start to think and they say, wait a second, I got a tax cut. CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post and the New York Times and everybody told me that I was going to get my taxes raised.
CNN just recanted and now says how Americans are going to ring in the new year with a raise.
Who said that?
2018.
CNN? Oh, and don't worry, CNN did a minimum wage story too.
Turn and tail.
The point is, people are going to realize Trump's not the liar, the fake news is. We are about to be joined by Jerome Corsi here. He's got stories at InfoWarsStore.com as well as some other intel I want to ask him about. But before we do that, it's only possible for all of this to happen because of your support at InfoWarsStore.com. Now, you guys were amazing supporting us in 2017. You saw what we've done here at InfoWars. We expanded our live broadcast to 10 hours a day. I think we had like 5 or 6 or even more 34-hour broadcasts. I think we did one that was like ended up being 72 hours. So, I mean, this is what we do when we get your support at InfoWarsStore.com, and we make it worth your while because we bring you great specials. Look at some of these New Year's specials that we have going on right now. These are extended specials, and they all include free shipping. So keep that in mind, free shipping. You've got Myco ZX that's been out of stock. That's back in stock, 25% off. Super Male Vitality, 50% off. Silver Bullet, this is a necessity during the winter when, you know, some bugs can go around, some sore throats, some coughs. Silver Bullet just knocks that stuff right out. That's 67% off. Brain Force Plus, this is one of the all-time best sellers, highest rated products at InfoWarsStore.com. And even so, we bring it to you at 50% off. One of the newest products at InfoWarsStore.com, Alpha Power, that's 50% off. Another new product at InfoWars Store, Cellforce, that's 50% off. How about Survival Shield X2? This is a game-changing, life-changing product. Just ask the audience, look at the reviews. That's 50% off. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, a great drink mix. I take it every morning. That's 50% off. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Household items at InfoWarsStore.com. Shampoo. I mean, it's just toothpaste. So if you're going to do shopping, why not shop with the good guys at InfoWarsStore.com? And then you see the results of supporting us as we continue to expand into the new year. And in fact, in the break, I was running around our studios here, and Alex and Rob are currently working in the newest studio. You've seen Alex broadcast out of our podcast studio. Very cool stuff there. But we've also got a new super studio. It's kind of like a Death Star of studios, if you will, in its magnitude. And they're doing some work right there. So stay tuned for all of that to be revealed in 2018. Let's bring in Jerry Corsi, my guest here for the rest of the hour. Jerry, I'm not sure where you want to start. You've been very active lately covering a lot of these stories. Hillary Clinton, Trump's executive order. I'll just give you the floor. Where do you want to begin?
Well, it's your choice. I mean, I think there's been a lot on this executive order that was signed last week. That I've been following it very closely and also tying it in with QAnon. And they were interviewed earlier. The two individuals who run the Post, QAnon and channel and 8chan, and also the subreddit Calm Before the Storm _stream, I thought did a very good job of presenting what they're trying to accomplish with these blogs and following QAnon. And the basic story is that President Trump last week declared a state of emergency, and with the executive order empowered Treasury to go and confiscate the assets of those involved in human rights abuses around the world, and named about 13 people that were clearly involved with the Clintons and played a major role, continue to play a major role with the Clintons, and that's going to be, those issues seem to indicate that President Trump is going to take very seriously this whole issue of human rights abuses, going after these people. It actually did declare a state of emergency, named Eric Schmidt and Google as being resigning, largely because this order was signed, and that puts Eric Schmidt right at the forefront of a whole issue on human rights abuses. And I started getting deeply into QAnon as a result of that executive order, and began to decode one of the major timelines that QAnon had posted a couple of days earlier, and realized that it was expanding from this executive order to show the entire coup that was underway in the Department of Justice and the FBI to remove Trump from office. And it was all based on, this whole lying, narrative, the Russian collusion, for which there's been no evidence. And it was very effectively put together. But again, it documented the extent to which Eric Schmidt has been very involved in funding Hillary, and at every step in the way, funding the development of this narrative against Trump. And I'm expecting now that there should be some really significant developments occurring in the very beginning of January.
I completely concur with that. And I'm trying to recall, and maybe you can kind of jog your memory too, but I also believe there was some sort of announcement. I don't remember if it was the UN or someone basically just announced how they're stepping up their security in Haiti because of all the child sex trafficking that's been going on there. That's kind of a new thing, that they're recommitting, redoubling their efforts to stop the child sex trafficking in Haiti. Of course, we all know about the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation and their relation to Haiti, and then Laura Silsby trying to get kids across the border. So that stuff is all going on. But back to this executive order, Jerome, I'm seeing a lot of people that I guess we would consider purists, such as a Ron Paul, speaking out against this executive order and thinking that, they're purists. They don't agree with essentially civil asset forfeiture. They don't agree with the United States saying that we can have this kind of worldwide power of civil asset forfeiture. But here's my thing. I've never claimed to be a purist, and I never will be a purist, because in my opinion, purists never win. A purist cannot win. A purist cannot get things done democratically via our republic. It just never happens. That's why Ron Paul, I felt, never could win president. So what would you say to the people out there that are kind of looking at this and not seeing the bigger picture, but instead trying to focus on this and say, well, wait a second, how is this constitutional?
Well, first of all, it's consistent with the kinds of actions we have in RICO laws and other laws on the books, where you're not supposed to benefit from crime, so that those who are involved in drug trades or other massive criminal enterprises can't use the criminal benefits of that trade to defend themselves and to live a lavish lifestyle while they're under investigation. The confiscation of assets can be abused like anything in the criminal justice system. But what I think this prefigures is that President Trump is getting ready to have the next shoe drop. In other words, we've had all of the issues coming out about sexual harassment. And, we've seen Al Franken and Harvey Weinstein. That's the tip of the iceberg. Wait until these issues of pedophilia start getting exposed on an international basis and child trafficking. And if President Trump is going to go after that seriously, I think these extraordinary tools, such as confiscation of assets, may be what's needed. And it certainly seems to me that the stage is being set today, this afternoon. President Trump also declared that January was going to be a human rights abuse dedicated to the stopping of human rights abuses and human trafficking. And slavery too. And slavery. That's the second. That was declared also for last January. But last January, President Trump was just coming into office. This January, combined with this executive order and Eric Schmidt's sudden withdrawal from the scene, with his massive involvement in the development of this Russian collusion and funding this Russian collusion narrative, I think we're going to see in January some action out of the Department of Justice that is going to be potentially, very necessary, very welcome. This whole abuse of human trafficking and the pedophilia has got to be attacked, and I think it's going to come out. It's been suggested by QAnon. It was suggested in WikiLeaks with the Pizzagate. And I think now we're seeing maybe President Trump with the Department of Justice and Jeff Sessions are going to take some serious action. It certainly would be welcome.
And I think that people are going to understand that Trump is a good guy when he goes after these people, first one ever. So what I was trying to say before the break, and I couldn't really get the words out, was a lot of what happened via the WikiLeaks in 2016, exposing the corruption inside the Clinton campaign, exposing the spirit cooking dinners led by Marina Abramovich and the Podestas and everybody that attends that stuff. And then you go down the rabbit hole and, well, we'll just leave it right there. But what I was going to say, Jerry, is that when all of this comes down, and I do believe that you're right, and the other foot is about to step forward, and probably as soon as January, there's going to be some serious stuff happening with this. I mean, what is the reaction of the general population going to be that never believed any of this stuff? You know, it's so evil they can't even wrap their minds around it. We're going to have Craig Sawyer on in the third hour. He's going to talk about some developments of this as well. What are they going to think when all of this gets exposed and it runs so deep, it runs so big, and you have to recognize at that point that, wow, every other president knew this was going on and did nothing?
Well, the evil of this, I mean, the satanic nature of the pedophilia that's going on and the combination of the Satanism with the pedophilia is going to be shocking to the average American. But what you're going to see, I think, and you'll find it exposed first, and WikiLeaks, I thought, did a great job of really putting out the Pizzagate. And in the next 6 months, I expect that a lot of what Alex Jones has been saying is going to get validated in detailed criminal investigations. I see no other reason why President Trump would have issued and signed this executive order on, human rights abuses. And clearly the Clintons ought to be worried because almost everyone in the Treasury annex that went along with that order that was mentioned was an international criminal involved with the Clintons or the Clinton Global Initiative or the Foundation. The Clinton Foundation has been criminal to the core. I pointed that out writing my book, Partners in Crime. We've debated it on the show. Charles Ortel has done a great job with his continuing research exposing the issue. And I think now this entire satanic network, it pervades the elite in Washington, in New York, in California, in Hollywood, the media, the upper echelons of politics. It's going to be shocking to the American people how completely deviant our major media and political cultures have become. And I think Trump is determined to expose it. QAnon, I've come to conclude, has to be an intelligence source within the government. I mean, his postings are really take an intelligence background to really decipher. Found that in decoding the long timeline that I did decode. I've got to say, there's thousands of people on 8chan and on the subreddit, which is Calm Before the Storm CBTS_streams, which I really recommend everyone start following, because there's thousands of people researching, and the research is excellent. I mean, these are not exactly posts you want to start posting on if you're what they call a newbie, if you're new to them, but certainly reading these posts, following the threads, and it's going to take hours. It's going to, but it's fascinating. And as you go down these threads and look at the documentation for the international criminals that have been existing, from Soros down, these huge accumulations of money and what they're producing in terms of perversion. And I really truly mean pedophilia and sex trafficking. That's the subreddit right there. You had the two who maintain that board and are doing the 8chan with the QAnon. I mean, I think this has got to be one of the major breakthroughs, and it's going to be a major boost. I'm very pleased to see that, we at InfoWars are going to be working with these Calm Before the Storm moderators who have created this QAnon postings. QAnon, I think, is going to be followed very strongly. Alex has started it, and I've kind of now really gotten into the trenches and started decoding and working on what QAnon is all about, just like we did with WikiLeaks. There's a treasure trove of information. It's going to be shocking, but I think the American people are finally going to understand that the Satanism that has pervaded the Obamas, the Clintons, the Bushes, that is at the heart of a lot of the international corruption behind the Clinton Foundation. Once we expose this and the American people see it, I think they're going to demand prosecutions. They're going to demand asset forfeitures. And President Trump seems to me to be ahead of the curve, and where he's really got to be if he's going to preserve his presidency and preserve the United States of America as a moral society.
Well, and he's been ahead of the curve at every turn, even, and you can see that just by looking at how well his tweets age. But stepping back from that for a minute, we do have developments inside the Clinton campaign with corruption. You've got the story breaking today: classified documents found among hundreds of pages that the FBI found on a computer belonging to Clinton aide Huma Abedin's pervert husband, Anthony Weiner. They then find out that some of that was not there. It was actually on a server that she was never supposed to have, just like Hillary Clinton. So, it's amazing to me, though. We've already got these people. I mean, we've already caught them red-handed. We caught them red-handed trying to rig the presidential election for Hillary Clinton with James Comey and Peter Strzok. We caught them red-handed trying to evade justice by deleting all the emails and smashing the servers, and the DNC not turning over their servers for the Russian investigation. I mean, is this just kind of like patty cake right now? Like, it's just like, hey, look, we got you guys. Either fold now or we're going to keep pressing, and it's only going to get worse.
Well, it's going to take a keep pressing. I mean, what was released today by the State Department in these Weiner laptop emails is disgraceful. First of all, the State Department released them on a search engine that doesn't work. You can't see the 1,800 or 2,000 documents. You can't just read through the list of them. People are getting little tidbits of them here and there. Even Judicial Watch has only been able to publish about 20 or 30 of them so far. They're highly redacted. You can't read them. It's clear that there were classified documents on Weiner's laptop. He needs to be prosecuted for national security violations. So does Huma, and so do Hillary, and probably a dozen other people. The corruption is deep within the State Department, within the Department of Justice, and within the FBI. And I think it's going to take a combination of President Trump continuing to tweet, and it's going to take Congress demanding, with these investigations, the revelations we found out about McCabe and Strzok and the others who are clearly hate Trump, that pervade the culture of the FBI, and the Department of Justice and the State Department. We were one step to having a national police force that under President Hillary Clinton that would have been capable of acting like a Gestapo, that would have been capable of enforcing their political determinations and their, if you weren't completely on their LGBT or any other agenda, you were going to get prosecuted for hate crimes. And we now find out that that finally this FBI and the Department of Justice were forced to admit for 6 years they'd been abusing the FISA court, and they'd been doing massive surveillance on the domestic population of the United States. That came out in the FISA court ruling I'll be writing about next week to make sure everybody's aware of it. We now have the FISA court condemning the practices of this Department of Justice and FBI under President Obama as a political opponent. They were going after political opponents. That's the beginning of a national police force that's like a Gestapo. That's the beginning of a totalitarian hard left agenda. And you back that up with the corruption that's at the heart of the Clinton Foundation, the pedophilia that we see in Haiti related to Hillary Clinton that we already know about. President Trump, I think, preparing with this declaration of January is a month in which he's going to go after human rights abuses and children being trafficking for sex and others, sex trafficking of adults. I think this is going to be a massive story that is going to be shocking to the American people. And I think the American people are going to demand that the people who have been engaged in these corruptions of our political system and this incredible immorality of money, corruption, pedophilia, and other laughing at the American people.
Well, it really makes you wonder, Jerry, because Devin Nunes said yesterday the Department of Justice and the FBI need to be investigated themselves. But it really makes you wonder, as they've literally been caught saying that they would have stolen the election if they could. They needed an insurance policy in case the people voted Trump. I mean, they already caught rigging and stealing elections. If the American people won't wake up to that, will they wake up to sex trafficking exposed? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out soon. Dr. Corsi, thank you so much. Welcome back to the War Room. Look at some of these stories here. Police investigate 2 acid attacks just 500 yards apart in East London after a woman suffered burns on her face and legs, and a man was attacked as he left light railway station. So you've got this increase of acid attacks, and it pretty much always gets traced back to a radical Islamicist migrant. You've got Berlin sets up New Year's Eve party safe zone to protect women from migrant sex attacks. So, instead of doing something about all the migrants coming in and raping the women, they just tell the women, well, we'll try our best to protect you from the people we're bringing in. Yeah, just like they had to set up barriers at Christmas markets because radical Muslims were running people over with cars. And then in New York, expect unprecedented New Year's Eve security in Times Square. That's the NYPD. And it seems like every year there's more radical terror attacks. So then every year, New York police have to step up the New Year's Eve security. Now, let's recall, we were told, and I understand that the convoluted issue this is, but we were told that radical Muslims attacked the Twin Towers on 9/11 because they hated our way of life. Now you get stories almost every week of radical Muslims blowing people up, running people over, stabbing people with knives. Why? Well, now they just don't even cover it. They just act like it's nothing or that it's cultural enrichment. So it's weird, that double standard. But I just wanted to go to this clip because let's not forget about who President Hezbollah was. Let's not forget about President Hussein. And let's just think critically for a second why we keep seeing an uptick of these attacks. Here's a clip, a controversial clip of President Obama admitting he's a Muslim. Is Barack Hussein Obama a Muslim? Does he have Muslim heritage? Does he have Muslim loyalty? Does he think that Islam is wonderful? Well, let's go to his own words.
Assalamu alaikum. Many other Americans have Muslims in their families or have lived in a Muslim majority country. I know because I am one of them. But my father came from a Kenyan family that includes generations of Muslims. As a boy, I spent several years in Indonesia and heard the call of the azan at the break of dawn. I have known Islam on 3 continents before coming to the region where it was first revealed. That experience guides my conviction.
You're absolutely right that John McCain has not
Conviction, did you hear that?
My Muslim faith.
Oh, his Muslim faith.
The Holy Quran tells us.
The Holy Quran.
The Holy Quran teaches that. The Holy Quran tells us, and the Holy Quran also says, we will convey our deep appreciation for the Islamic faith, which has done so much over the centuries.
Yeah, because they have such a deep appreciation for
I would
America.
like to speak directly to the people and leaders of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Their great and celebrated culture. Over many centuries, your art, your music, literature, and innovation have made the world a better and more beautiful place.
Did he ever say that
We
about
know that you
America
are a
or
great
Christianity?
civilization, and your accomplishments have earned the respect of the United States and the world.
I also
But if a
know
U.S. citizen was on the streets over there, they'd get killed.
It was Islam at places like Uluzala that carried the light of learning through so many centuries, paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment. It was innovation in Muslim communities that developed the order of algebra, our magnetic compass and tools of navigation.
Pretty sure
our
that was,
mastery of
I
pens
think
and
that was
printing,
Europeans.
our understanding of how disease spreads and how it can be healed.
No.
Islamic culture has given us majestic arches and soaring spires.
So there's Obama just trying to tell you he's a Muslim. Are you shocked terror attacks happen in the United States now?
Host Roger Stone with my colleague Owen Schroyer with the days ticking down to January 1st of next year. Owen, the biggest story today appears to be revelations by Fox News and others that the emails that were sent by Huma Abedin to Anthony Weiner's laptop or server for safekeeping have been released by the U.S. State Department. What we do know from these reports is that classified documents were included and in many cases had to be redacted. But here is the updated report from InfoWars. My sources in the New York Police Department, who were the first law enforcement agency to locate and review these documents, tell me that the material that the State Department released is only a small portion of the emails that Abedin forwarded to her home server for safekeeping. My sources tell me the complete set of documents, which were retained by the New York Police Department while sending a copy to the FBI, included proof of corruption, bribery, pedophilia, Bill's womanizing, and Hillary's efforts to cover up his serial sexual assaults. One detective with the New York Police Department told me point blank that after reviewing the material, they believed the entire file was Huma Abedin's blackmail file, meaning if the Clintons ever decided to turn on her, as they turned on Jim and Susan McDougal, for example, that the material contained here was so explosive, so potentially capable of blowing up not only Bill and Hillary, but that the safety and long-term financial security of Huma Abedin would be secure.
Well, this to me is another example of just the cat being out of the bag, Roger. You know, they cannot put the cat back in the bag. They cannot put the toothpaste back in the bottle. They cannot put the genie back in the bottle. They've been totally exposed. They've been exposed in the FBI trying to rig the election for Hillary Clinton. They've been exposed saying that they need an insurance policy in case Trump wins. Now we've got all of these emails, not just from WikiLeaks, but Judicial Watch is getting emails as well. We're getting more information on Clinton's inner circle, such as Huma Abedin, and I believe it was her cousin that just got charged as well. I mean, what are they going to do? Everyone around the Clintons is collapsing. They're all collapsing. They're all being found guilty of some sort of crime. They cannot hide this. This is it. This is the end of the Clinton dynasty.
Some might say, well, Huma Abedin's cousin was convicted of fraud, but that's not Huma, and therefore it's guilt by association. Let's review the facts in that matter. Let's put up that headline for a second. And what you will find is that Omar Amanat, the first cousin of Huma Abedin, was convicted of multiple counts, including fraud this week, for lying to shareholders of a technology company. Now, what is significant is not only the fact that in their defense, they attempted to fabricate phony exculpatory emails and introduce them as evidence, getting caught for that, but that Huma's cousin was partnered with the Russian bazillionaire real estate magnate, Vladislav Doranin, but had determined that Doranin had determined that Huma's cousin was, in fact, a swindling crook. Now, what's interesting here is that Doranin worked previously for Mark Rich. You remember him, don't you? Mark Rich.
Oh, yeah, the guy that Bill Clinton pardoned.
Exactly. He's the guy who fled the country, was a fugitive from justice, but his heavy-handed and influential lobbyists bribed Clinton. They circumvented the entire formal system for a pardon, delivering the papers to pardon Mr. Rich only in the 11th minute of the 11th hour of the countdown of Bill Clinton's term. Now, the significance also is that, speaking of Mark Rich, Dan Gertler, one of the 13 corrupt, serious human rights abusers who were cited in President Trump's December 20th executive order, which I spoke extensively with David Knight about this morning on The Real News. This is an executive order that appears to be the precursor for a Justice Department sweep of Bill, Hillary, and an entire platoon of criminals in the Uranium One matter, perhaps in connection to Libya as well. Gertler was an Israeli billionaire who also worked for Mark Rich. So all lines seem to go to the original crime in which Mark Rich was able to purchase a pardon from the President of the United States for a multi-million-dollar contribution to the Clinton Foundation, passed through his wife, thought to be a lover of Bill Clinton.
And the amazing thing about this, they thought that they were about to get away with everything because Hillary Clinton was about to become president. And I mean, who knows what she would have done in her 4 years or, God forbid, 8 years. But it wouldn't have mattered because she would have destroyed America. She would have so corrupted the DOJ, so corrupted the FBI, so corrupted the CIA, if you can believe, even beyond what it already was dealing with. But they didn't get Hillary in, and they got Trump in. And so now all of their crimes are sitting on their doorstep. And so they're trying to point at 500 different stories. Oh, Trump, Russia over here, dossier over there. Oh, you know, women over here, Me Too over here. But guess what? Those crimes are still sitting right on their doorstep, Roger.
No, you're absolutely right, Owen. And look, I hope that Dr. Jerry Corsi, who in my opinion may be one of the finest and most dogged investigative reporters working in journalism today, is right about the impending awakening of the Trump Justice Department. Now, we do know that in a very quiet and methodical way, the Trump Justice Department has been rolling up pedophiles and working with other law enforcement agencies, particularly in Europe, to do so there as well. Certainly a step in the right direction. But we have learned in recent weeks that President Barack Obama and his administration were indeed trafficking guns to ISIS, were indeed trafficking guns to Al-Qaeda. When Donald Trump said in the campaign that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton invented ISIS, he was right, even though he was widely chided. The proof is now in. And now, even more incredibly, Owen, we have learned that the U.S. government under Barack Obama covered up cocaine dealing in this country by ISIS, which was generating hundreds of millions of dollars. They did not bust the ISIS drug ring because they did not want to upset the Iranian nuclear deal.
Well, and this is just me pontificating. Maybe there was another motive behind that. You know, I mean, do you think Bill Clinton would wanted to have stopped a cocaine deal? If you can get where I'm going with that.
Well, you know, Owen, it's hard for me to say. You can find an interview with Bill Clinton in which he says, cocaine, what does that look like? I've never seen it.
Yeah, meanwhile, his own brother says he snorted cocaine like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. This is all very, 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 very broadly documented in my book, The Clintons' War on Women. In fact, Governor Bill Clinton went into drug rehab at least twice in preparation for his campaign for the presidency. You can get that on the InfoWars store now, where, needless to say, our New Year's Eve's specials are selling at drastically reduced prices. Oh, and I don't know how Alex Jones does this, but the very best products, like my own favorite, Brain Force Plus, at deep, deep discounts today. And that is what pays for the war room. Oh my goodness, you've caught me with a bottle of Russian vodka. Please, Mr. Mueller, please don't indict me.
Oh my gosh, Roger.
Red-handed, buddy, red-handed. Look, even The Nation, in an incredible piece yesterday, figured out that Russiagate is devolving into an effort to stigmatize dissent. The entire Russian collusion narrative is nothing but fear-mongering, red-baiting, and warmongering. It has no basis in fact, despite the millions and millions of dollars spent by the federal government, by Mr. Mueller, by Mr. Comey, by the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, by the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. There is not an iota, not a scintilla, not a entire shred of evidence that indicates that the Donald J. Trump for President campaign conspired effectively or ineffectively with the Russian state. No, I'm sorry. Donald Trump Jr.'s meetings with a Russian lawyer are legal, are proper. They don't constitute a campaign finance violation. That is fake news. Now, the fact that the Russian lawyer that Donald Trump Jr. met with was in the country on the favor of the Obama administration without a visa, the fact that we have photos of her at a Hillary Clinton rally and photos of her in Senator John McCain's office, well, Owen, can you say set up?
Well, the whole thing was a setup, but the most incredible thing to me is, okay, beyond the fact that we got all the Russian collusion evidence on Hillary Clinton with the Uranium One scandal, okay, fine. They want to act like that doesn't exist. I have a feeling that that'll become a bigger story in 2018, perhaps. But on the surface, I think we would all agree, it appears that President Trump and Vladimir Putin get along very well. However, if you look at the geopolitical power struggle right now between the United States and Russia, it's very, very real. And if you look at foreign policy in Ukraine and towards Syria, well, it kind of goes against what Vladimir Putin necessarily wants for foreign policy with those two countries. So, I mean, it's beyond delusional at this point. Every fact points to the opposite. There was no collusion. There never was any collusion. If there was collusion, it was the Democrats. And if there is any sort of relationship with America and Russia or Trump or Russia, it's a serious power struggle right now.
As you point out, Owen, the Trump administration is now giving weapons to the Ukrainian government.
I'm sure that was Vladimir Putin's call.
I mean, it's just another example of the bogusness of their entire argument. We are subjected to this torrent of fake news, this avalanche of fake news in the Russian collusion delusion. Enough, Adam Schiff. Enough, Nancy Pelosi. Enough, Senator Chuck Schumer. Enough, Senator Feinstein. Enough, Senator Mark Warner, the worst of the worst. You have nothing. You have bupkis. You have nada. Give it up. No, it's not worth going to war over Syria. Syria, where Assad finances Hezbollah and Hamas, propped up by the Russians, or the opposition, propped up by ISIS and a million other fanatical Islamic terrorist groups, backed by our friends, the Saudis. We have no friends in Syria worth spending a borrowed American dollar or a drop of American blood.
You know, Roger, it always makes me beg the question, as you just listed off that group of corrupt politicians that continue to try to shove this Russian collusion narrative down our throat, even though it has no bearings, no foundation except a fake dossier, no proof, no evidence, just all rhetoric, all fake news. It just continues for me to beg the question. Why? Why are they doing it? They know that there's nothing there. They know they have no evidence. They know no one is believing it. Why? Why do they keep doing it? And I always continue to believe, it's my opinion, the louder they scream, the more skeletons they have in their closet. Why would these people continue to try to sell you a fake story that they know is fake, that they know you know is fake, unless they had some serious skeletons in their own closet that they're afraid are going to be exposed?
Nobody has nailed this like Alex Jones. He said from the very beginning, the irony of this is the people accusing Trump of being in bed with the Russians are the people who were really in bed with the Russians. It really does win the Chutzpah Award of 2016. They are guilty of the very crimes that they accuse our president and his family of. And justice is quite surely coming, in my opinion.
I think it is too. I think that we are currently in the calm before the storm. I expect it to come in January. I think that that's why President Trump again made the announcement that January will be a month to raise awareness for human trafficking, child trafficking, and the like. So I'm kind of sitting here with bated breath as I think the storm is approaching. We're about to go to break here. Owen Schroyer, Roger Stone on the War Room. Again, folks, we ask for your support at InfoWarsStore.com. It makes everything possible. And you know by now, if you've been following us, you get tomorrow's news today. You get next week's news today. You get next year's news today. And it's all possible with your support. So please help us enlighten more people. Help us get this word out. Help fund independent, real media that wants to spread truth and wants to put light on the cockroaches in our government. InfoWarsStore.com. Huge specials, New Year specials, free shipping. Check out the New Year Gut Pack, 50% off Myco ZX and Flora Life Combo. It's all at InfoWarsStore.com. You fund us, we expand.
Well, Owen, we're back on the War Room and literally days away from the release of the 12th annual International Best and Dressed list, which I compile every year for the Daily Caller and my website, stoneonstyle.com. Now, I want to stress to you that the list is bipartisan, non-political, and is 100% non-ideological. The actual finalists for this list is, generally speaking, a very closely held secret until New Year's Day, when it would be published at both the Daily Caller and at the Stone on Style site. And I'm predicting that it'll show up at the InfoWars site for a whole new generation and expansion of readers. So I'm not going to say today who is on the worst dressed list. Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not going to mention some of the people who really look like they're shopping out of the Salvation Army. Lena Dunham. I'm not going to mention even friends who engage in fashion faux pas. Steve Bannon. When I had Steve Bannon on my worst dressed list last year, he was so proud of it, he showed it to all of his friends. A great patriot, Steve Bannon. But Steve, drop the 3 button-down shirts. It's not working. A terrific piece about Steve Bannon's multiple shirts by Olivia Nuzzi of the Daily Beast. And she published this, or we republished this at Stone on Style. So it is with great relief, I tell you, that the list has been finalized. It is being held in a bank vault in Orlando, Florida, and will be released on New Year's Day. Now, here's a hint, Owen. There are at least 2 info warriors on this list.
Well, my favorite part of the list, other than myself last year, would have to be the relentless jabs that you take at the people that make the worst dress list. I forget the verbiage you were using to analyze Chunk Yogurt, whatever his name is, of the Young Turks outfits of last year. I think you mentioned perhaps how he gets most of his suits at Goodwill, and you suggested maybe trying to find a tailor in there. Yeah, there we go. So I always get a kick out of reading your breakdown of the people that make the worst dress list. It always provides me a smile and a laugh.
Well, in the case of Chunk Yogurt, let's just say that he looks like 2 kids fighting under a blanket. I would not expect to see him on the best dressed list this year. But we do have some very tasty choices. This is not something that we take lightly at all, Owen. We are open to your suggestions. If you want to email me for next year's list, you can do so either at Stone at stonezone.com or Stone at Stone Cold Truth, and we will consider your nominees. But so far, so good. This is a tradition that I am privileged to have picked up from the late Mr. Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell was an arbiter of fashion, a designer based in Hollywood, and his praise or his scorn could make or break the career of a young athlete or socialite, business person, or starlet. So it is in that spirit of good taste and style that we have continued this valued competition, as it were. I must tell you, it is very, very difficult, far more difficult than you might think, to find men and women who understand the difference between fashion and style. Fashion, you see, is fleeting. It changes. Skirts may go up, skirts may go down. Neckties may be thicker or fatter. Neckties may be thinner. But style endures. The navy blue double-breasted blazer with military buttons will always be stylish. The little black cocktail dress will always look smashing. So I really look forward to the publication of this year's list, Owen.
Well, I'm going to be having my eye out for some of my submissions. I suggested Jake Tapper be on the worst dress list simply because of his choice of ties. That's it. I don't understand what makes this guy choose the ties he wears. Don Lemon, same thing with the ties, and then just a total lack of style, it seems, with Don Lemon. Rachel Maddow goes on there and looks like a lumberjack that just ate, 15 pancakes and came out of a Dexter's Laboratory cartoon. So I'm kind of looking forward to who makes the worst dressed list this year, because like I said, I always get a kick out of reading you really smashing into these people that look hideous when they go on air. I mean, I understand if you don't want to make a bunch of big deal out of what you wear, but come on, Rachel Maddow, you don't have to look like a lumberjack that wants to go, to the girls' bar and hang out.
Look, there is a certain fastidiousness that I think is expected from professional, serious people. As Stone's rule goes, look good, feel good. Some people literally look like they dressed out of a dumpster. Michael Moore, for example.
Well, he might have just crawled out of a dumpster too, so let's be fair.
Entirely possible. In any event, let's move on. The list is on its way.
Hillary Clinton trying to dress like Kim Jong-un. I'm just saying.
Well, she appears to have put on a few pounds based on some wire photos I saw of her last week. She has no idea what she looks good in. She has no idea the way darker
An
colors.
orange jumpsuit. She looks good in an orange jumpsuit.
From your mouth to God's ear, Owen.
Did you hear that, President Trump? Hillary Clinton would only look good in an orange jumpsuit.
Look, I think now is a good time to mention that if you're enjoying the War Room, if you like this repartee between Owen Schroyer and myself, and often our colleague Rob Dew comes in for some pithy commentary, recognize that this expansion of programming is only possible if you go to the InfoWars store. We are not subsidized by wealthy conservative financiers. We rely completely and totally on listener and viewer support through the InfoWars store. This is what guarantees the complete and total independence of InfoWars. We are unbought. We are unbossed. We will bring you the stone cold truth and more because we depend not on one big chunk of money from any sponsor who can affect our thinking, but by many, 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 many purchases from InfoWarriors and liberty-minded patriots. And that's why by going to the store, Alex Jones nailed it when he calls it a 360 win. You help promote conservative programming and liberty-oriented truth-seeking here at InfoWars, and you get the very best all-natural products, First Amendment-oriented t-shirts, books, and other products that we think you want. Alex Jones and his scientists have put together some of the most extraordinary formulas fusing the old and the new, the very best of centuries-old Chinese herbology fused with cutting-edge natural supplements that have been rigorously tested for their effectiveness. Now is the time, for example, that Alpha Power, an extraordinary new formula for energy and endurance, is 50% off. Owen?
And let me tell you, these products are the real deal, folks. All you got to do is go to the store website and check out these reviews. These are certified reviews. See what other folks are saying. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just take Roger's word for it. See what other folks are saying and try them for yourself. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the War Room. I'm your co-host, Roger Stone, with my colleague, Owen Schroyer. We're broadcasting from an undisclosed location in sunny South Florida. We are interested to note today, Owen, that the resignation of Senator Al Franken becomes final, effective January 2nd. Now, extraordinarily, it was InfoWars that broke the story of the initial accusations by Miss Leanne Tweeden against Senator Franken. I think it's important to note that since that time, 6 additional women, every single one of them active Democrats or Democrat activists, have come forward with allegations against the good senator. Nonetheless, for bizarre reasons, out-of-work actor Tom Arnold, a lefty who doesn't have much of a career left, but evidently still gets residuals from Roseanne, who I believe may be on this year's best dressed list, having upped her game substantially, made baseless accusations saying that I had coached Leanne Tweeden. Well, the problem with that is I have never met, communicated, or spoken to Miss Tweeden, never mind, quote, coaching her for weeks, as Mr. Arnold said. Unfortunately, Tom Arnold was able to prank former governor of Minnesota and a former governor of Minnesota, and strangely enough, a real freak by the name of Richard Painter, a Council on Foreign Relations member, a member of the Trilateral Commission, who worked in the George W. Bush White House as a Bush administration ethics lawyer. Yes, an oxymoron. Mr. Painter, a member of the bar, continues on Fox and CNN to make baseless charges, claiming that the resignation of Franken should be delayed until we examine the role of Fox News and Roger Stone. Well, Mr. Painter, there is nothing whatsoever to examine. I have sworn out an affidavit here in the state of Florida stating under oath that my only involvement is in reporting this matter after hearing about it from a reputable source who has no connection whatsoever to Miss Tweeden. You say you want a full Senate investigation? Superb idea. Let's have those hearings. Everybody should be under oath about their role, or in my case, lack of a role, in this entire controversy. I'll go first under oath, Mr. Painter, and then you can go under oath and provide the evidence or proof to your baseless, wild, crazy charges. Now, I bring this up to try to sum it up before the end of the year because now, joining this cavalcade, this charade of falsehood, this waterfall, this torrent of lies, is Crazy Joe Scarborough. Even he jumped on this bandwagon, saying that Roger Stone of InfoWars had something to do with Franken's fall, somehow orchestrating it, somehow making Miss Tweeden's claims false. Once again, this is false. I don't know Miss Tweeden. She is most attractive from the photos of her that I have seen. I hope that we have put this to rest, Owen.
Well, that's interesting to me because it's kind of been a weird story with Al Franken alluding that he's going to resign, but not committing to it, then kind of taking a step back, then under more public pressure saying, okay, I will resign. And now you get all these people in the media wanting to protect him from resigning. It's really a strange story to me, you know, because they're quick to jump on any false accusation against President Trump and call for his removal, but somehow Al Franken is above reproach here.
Well, not only that, but Tom Arnold said in his Twitter feed that he would publish documents proving his claim that I coached Tweeden and brought her forward. Then he published documents that seem to me to be innocuous, but more importantly, have no connection to me whatsoever. So listen, Fatso, put up or shut up. This endless claim that you have evidence that implicates me in any role other than journalist in this matter grows very tedious.
It seems a similar story, just like everything else that they're doing right now. Trump colluded with Russia. No evidence. Hillary Clinton is going to win the election. Nope, she lost in a landslide. I mean, these people cling to bitter lies. They cling to realities they wish existed that don't.
Well, and I must tell you, Owen, I've been watching Joe Scarborough very carefully on the air. I kind of wonder if what we're really seeing is one of these things where the nose is actually attached to his glasses, because it appears that way, like it's a fake nose or something. I mean, this guy says the president's crazy. No, Joe, you're crazy. You see that? The nose is definitely attached to the glasses. All he did was tear the mustache off. I think it's clear. This is.
Oh, whoa! Is that Joe Scarborough? When did Joe Scarborough come on with us? What the heck's going on?
Exactly.
Oh, there's Roger again. Oh, sorry, Roger. I thought Joe would join us for a second there.
It clearly, you can see that from that photo that the nose and the glasses are one piece.
You know, another thing about Joe Scarborough, while we're making fun of Joe Scarborough, I always have a good time doing that. Have you ever noticed, since you've been monitoring his broadcast, have you ever noticed how he basically just beats, not physically, but like as far as when they're on air and commentating, how he just kind of always keeps Mika down? Like he never lets Mika talk. He always talks over Mika. And then Mika is kind of over there, no pun intended, like meek. Like kind of like, ooh, like, I don't want to talk over Joe. Joe's talking. I want to say something, but Joe's talking, so I can't say anything. It's very strange. I mean, Psycho Joe. I mean, this guy, this is truly Psycho Joe here.
But I would say this again, though, particularly when he is addressing the president directly or when she is, look at the look of unadulterated hatefulness in her look. Look at the anger and the bitterness and the hatred she becomes an ice queen in that moment. Now, what's the irony? We were the first to report here at InfoWars that Dina Habib Powell, Council on Foreign Relations member, Trilateral Commission member, George W. Bush White House operative, was joining the Trump White House staff, quite improbably, and ultimately rose to the job of Deputy National Security Advisor. How in the world did a globalist villain who most assuredly did not support or vote for Donald Trump get this job? Well, now we know. It was Mika Brzezinski who made this recommendation to the president. And several weeks ago, when it was reported that Dina Habib Powell was leaving her position, we at InfoWars correctly reported that our sources told us that Habib Powell had been caught leaking and had been terminated. Now, that's not the public story, but that's the kind of inside truth we bring you here at InfoWars.
All right, Roger, we got a minute and a half left here of you being live on the War Room for 2017. What are you looking for in 2018?
Well, I would note an extraordinarily good report from Axios, the website that has done a very good job of chronicling the Trump administration. They have an extraordinary interview up today, and I tend to agree with this, Owen. I think Mike Allen and Jim Vanderhei of Axios say that Trump will be more aggressive in several areas in terms of pursuing his agenda in 2018. After interviewing numerous insiders, these reporters paint a picture of Trump's future agenda. Expect tougher trade talk, including tariffs on steel and aluminum, or at least the threat of tariffs. Trump's cabinet calls it trade war talk, but the president considers it a no-nonsense way to level the playing field where many imports are subsidized by our originating trade partner governments. Trump also intends to deliver on his promise to build the wall, and I believe it will start to put the squeeze on the foot draggers in that regard. Trump also will tackle aggressively the issues of chain migration, anchor babies, and other forms of currently legal immigration for reform. And I think it's very abundantly clear.
I've got a little liberal madness here that I want to address. Tulsi Gabbard is a Democrat that I always viewed as a fair-minded liberal and not an enemy of reality and truth. But my goodness, has she gone full libtard on Twitter today? And I think another example of death by tweeting. We already covered her nonsense with climate change earlier. Then she tweets this out. This is so unreal. I mean, what happened to Tulsi Gabbard? She tweets, after the story breaks nearly half of Puerto Rico still without power 100 days after Hurricane Irma, she tweets, this is unacceptable and quite frankly would not be happening if American citizens in Puerto Rico were treated the same as those living in the States. The blame for this is where it gets so batty you can't even believe it. The blame for this falls squarely on Washington and the Wall Street hedge funds and creditors, not the Puerto Rican people. What? A hurricane, massive, devastating hurricane, goes through Puerto Rico and devastates it, and it's Washington's fault? It's Wall Street's fault? And then she's somehow shocked that people in Puerto Rico get treated differently than people in America? What? So Tulsi Gabbard goes full libtard today on Twitter, and I think this is another example of death by Twitter. What is she thinking, blaming what's going on in Puerto Rico on Washington and Wall Street instead of the hurricane that actually went through there and destroyed it? Wow, Tulsi Gabbard went from fair-minded liberal to libtard today in my book. We'll see if she can redeem herself. But how about this for liberal madness? Germany plans to ring in the new year with heightened security. This is from the New York Times. The New York Times tells you to love open borders. The New York Times says you're racist and xenophobic if you don't want migrants. Yet here's the New York Times telling you it's so bad because of the migrants in Germany, they're going to have heightened security. So let's go back in time Do you remember what happened last New Year in Cologne when women, hundreds of women, were being attacked and assaulted in the streets? Let's flash back. Here's that clip. This is in Germany last year on New Year's. Hundreds of women being assaulted and ganged up and attacked by migrants. And there they are bragging about it. The police don't know what to do. It's out of control. So, again, we're running the footage now. This is Cologne, Germany, where last New Year's, hundreds of women were attacked and assaulted in the streets by migrants. And then they were all running around bragging and laughing about it. And the police couldn't do anything because they were outnumbered. And then the media wanted to act like that didn't happen. So now, because that happened last year, Germany is going to have heightened security because of all the migrants assaulting and raping women last year on New Year's as New Year's approaches. So I just find it hilarious that the liberals will sit here and say, you're crazy, you're nuts, you're racist, you're xenophobic because you want secure borders and you don't want a total crazed influx of migrants into your country. But then out of the other side of the mouth, they're still admitting it. Hey, look, these migrants are out of control. They're raping women. They're destroying cities. I mean, look what's happened at Sweden, folks. Honestly, you can't even believe what Sweden is dead. Sweden's gone. Open borders have destroyed Sweden. And so we're crazy, though, because we want to protect America. We're crazy because on New Year's, we don't want thousands of migrants raping, assaulting, and grabbing women in the streets, running around like packs of stray dogs thinking they can do whatever they want. But you're also crazy if you don't want that. That's the liberal double standard. So now in Germany, they're going to have thousands of police on the streets hoping to stop all the migrants from assaulting the women celebrating New Year's. It's the Saw Man. Craig Sawyer joins us here on The War Room. You can find his work at tacticalinsider.com. And currently, his big project that is heroic, vetsforchildrescue.org. Now, Craig, I know that there have been some recent developments over there at vetsforchildrescue.com. And it seems to me like you guys are even bearing down on getting some of these people that are capturing children and selling children. I mean, you guys are making some serious headwinds now.
Yep. When you know the right people and your heart's in it, that's thank God it's not long before you're able to start lining things up. So what we've got now is cooperation with federal and local law enforcement to actually run a type of operation that I won't describe yet. I think it's important to maintain that OPSEC until the operations are actually complete. But we will be able to arrest pedophiles, child predators, and take them off the streets, put them away, and rescue whatever children may be in their control. So, man, I'm thankful for it. The team's excited. The crew's excited. It's a big adventure. Nothing's perfect. We've got one young lady that we've been tracking on and we've run surveillance on, and I've been doing a lot of coordination with law enforcement about that. She was actually recovered in Texas recently, and man, we're trying to figure out exactly how to skin that cat, because again, some of these cases are complicated. We're all celebrating that she's alive after almost a year in a very rough situation, but there's family and law enforcement and aftercare to be dealt with, and we're trying to walk that high wire act and balance and make sure everybody's taken care of and that gets dealt with the best way possible, but we couldn't be more excited about it.
I want to stick with this for a second. You guys have rescued a sex trafficking victim that was in the sex trafficking market for a year, is what you're saying?
No, sir. No, that's not accurate. The police found her. We were looking for her on one coast, and she was found in the middle of the country. I'll put it that way. In a completely unrelated incident, but due to the lifestyle she was in, and she was a victim of sex trafficking, they were able to recover her. And so now it's just a matter of getting her plugged in so that she is given the aftercare that's required. Because look, when there's drug abuse and there's been extensive violence and abuse of a young person like this, they're not in their right mind to make the healthiest decision for them. So there has to be some strong intervention to make sure that they are cared for and loved upon and given the tools and the counseling and the rehabilitation for 3 to 6 months so that they don't fall right back into the fire, and to give them the understanding so that they can go forward then and have a productive and happy life. So, man, that's what we're working toward. We're all excited about it. I'm dealing with her mother, and she's a very fine lady, and she's been heartbroken over this. So it feels good that the young lady is safe for now, but we've got a lot more to figure out ahead of us due to the state that she's in now. Pretty much, even though she's only 17, they pretty much look at her as an adult legally. So she's got a lot more say-so on her future than she might in other states, which is unfortunate, because if she's not in her right mind yet, she's not in a healthy mind, she may be still under the influence of pretty serious narcotics that she may not find that most productive path out of there. So we would just want to rally around her and make sure that she's looked after and remains safe.
Wow, that's an incredible story, and most people probably never heard about that, probably will never hear about that, and it just makes you wonder, how many police officers and great men in law enforcement and women in law enforcement, have had similar stories, have rescued similar people that just, it never gets reported because, it's not a flashy headline. But this is truly a feel-good story, and like you said, though, just rescuing these people isn't enough. They need rehabilitation, they need help, and you want to create a situation where they don't end up back in that scenario.
Oh, yeah. Stockholm syndrome is a serious problem, especially when there's heroin addiction and other harsh drugs involved. And that's part of the manipulation and control factor. Look, when you're bringing 30 people over to rape a young lady at a time, there's a problem, right? And if she doesn't recognize that that's harmful for her, I guarantee you after 3 to 6 months in a loving and healthy environment where she's given the tools and the education and shown how all this works and can get cleaned up and get her mind back right, I guarantee you she'll see the harm, and she'll never let herself fall back into that fire. And, again, these cases, before you get into the real world of it, they can sound like they might be simple, and someone would be super grateful that they would be rescued and out of this. But the police in this case extracted her, but without further intervention, she's one that would wander right back in it, and sadly, may not survive it just within a few short years. So they're complicated cases, but they are worthy. She's worth working for, and so we'll never quit.
And only divulge any information you feel comfortable divulging here. I don't want to get too into this, but I'm just curious. Was this a situation of a abduction, or was this a situation of a runaway, or what happened here?
This young lady was a runaway, and she began thinking that her pimp was her boyfriend. And that's not that uncommon. When a runaway is lost, they're on the streets, and looking around for what they're going to do. Sometimes they don't have a plan. And the predators are out there looking for them, and they identify them very quickly. Planes, airports, bus stations, train stations, bus stops. They see these lost souls looking for the next ride, the next meal, and they take them in. Oh, hey, I'll take care of you. You can hang with us. I'll feed you. We'll watch a movie tonight. And they slip something in their drink, and then they start injecting them with who knows what, and it just gets worse from there. And then they talk to them that, hey, we have to pay the bills. We all have to survive. You need to do your part. We're going to bring somebody over. You entertain them. There won't be any harm done, baby. I love you. Let's be a good little clan here in this house and this crack house. You do your part, and we'll all be okay. And we're all working for the same team. So it gives them a sense of belonging. It's a sick and morbid existence. Sometimes their sum total of their possessions is a sofa cushion on the corner on the floor. That's their life. That's their bedroom. That's their existence, and their happiness comes through a heroin needle. And it's heartbreaking, Owen. It's heartbreaking, brother.
Seriously, I can't even imagine. This is such tough work, for law enforcement and people in the justice community here. But I'm curious, because this is probably a situation where in law enforcement you deal with this and you probably have to take a lot of losses. And you probably sit back and after a while you just feel helpless, you feel hopeless, and then you kind of have an apathetic view towards approaching this stuff. Is a worm turning here, Craig? Is there a worm turning where more people in law enforcement are starting to see victories and are not feeling as hopeless, and they're going to say, you know what, we're going to go after these people. We have an opening here. We've got a president that wants this to happen as well. Is there kind of a new momentum going where people don't feel as apathetic towards approaching these situations?
I believe there is, Owen. I don't know how widespread it is yet, but we are seeing cases where there are hundreds of arrests at a time in one area. So it is coming down from the president. President Trump's initiative is to clean this up, and that's filtering down. And I think that encouragement, that inspiration is filtering down, cascading down for a positive impact on local law enforcement. Some of these local police are overtasked, undermanned, under-budgeted, under-trained in some cases for the level of responsibility that's placed on their shoulders. And they've got everybody forcing cameras in their faces trying to catch them making a mistake when they're in the middle of potentially getting shot to death. So it's been a hostile environment for them, and they haven't been backed up politically from D.C., and they are now. And I think what's happening is you'll see sheriffs, chiefs of police, DAs lining up to help actually be encouraged and start going after these predators on a wider and wider scale. And you're right, the tide is turning. Things are changing. And so I welcome this development. It's a very positive and encouraging development. And I think once the tide turns to a degree, the crooks will be on the run, and they'll realize that there's precious little place that they can hide and do this any further.
And even though this stuff is tough to talk about, I mean, this is so real. Everybody should be behind this. Welcome back to the War Room. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer. We are joined by Craig Sawyer of TacticalInsider.com, doing heroes work at vetsforchildrescue.org. Vetsforchildrescue.org, folks. Check that out and support Craig's work over there. Craig was just enlightening us how he is now working to build a youth program to try to teach children about predators that may try to take advantage, people who may try to take advantage of you and trick you or manipulate you, and you're trying to make sure that the youth are prepared for predators like that. Talk about that a little bit, Craig.
Yeah, man. Well, in our search to tell the American public what's going on with our documentary, we found a local organization called Sold No More. And they have a fantastic curriculum where they go to the schools and they teach the children up close and personally with actual victims to relay how the predators stalk the children through their smart devices. So through their Xbox games, through their iPhones, iPads, and how it's done so that the children are forearmed, man. They're empowered by that knowledge so that they don't have to become victims in the first place. Man, I'd rather, instead of rescuing children, I'd rather have them avoid that heartache altogether. And this is a great curriculum that I would like to coordinate nationally and take national so that all children, not just in one town, but all American children are forearmed with this very empowering knowledge and information.
Yeah, it's amazing to me to think about this. You're being proactive instead of reactive, and I'll just take a snide shot here at the liberal public school system here. Why wouldn't the government-run public school system already have a program like that instilled? I wonder. But beyond that, I mean, what are you hearing? Are the kids open to this? I mean, are they learning things? I mean, this is stuff that the average child is not thinking about when he's playing, a Call of Duty or something online or messaging his friends on Facebook. They're not thinking there might be someone out there trying to take advantage of me.
I tell you what, I sat and listened to Lisa Hanson talk to the children. They were mesmerized. They were blown away. She had their attention because she's genuine. She's lived it. She's suffered through it. And what she teaches them is exactly what's happening. She teaches them how the icon leads, the sugar frosted little song or cartoon or icon that they click on the side of their game, where it leads to, and how predators set that up and what the end game is. And how there might be a creepy rape van waiting around the corner when they invite the kid to go meet, a young lady or another boy that they think is a buddy of theirs, but really it's an adult predator tricking them. So she teaches them exactly what goes on and shows them the realities of it. And she's got their attention. I sat there and I witnessed that myself. So it's fantastic knowledge, and it's my firm belief that all children deserve to know and be forearmed.
And, you know, this is something that nobody wants to think exists. Nobody wants to acknowledge. Nobody wants to have to deal with. But we all have to deal with this together. I mean, we need to protect the youth. And I'm hearing now that there's more of an international and kind of a global interest in what you guys are doing over there at vetsforchildrescue.com.
Well, there is. It's because it's a global problem. And while I founded Vets for Child Rescue to focus specifically here in the continental United States and on our American children, it is an international problem. And it's hard to draw the line because some of the biggest predators are right here in our country, and they travel abroad to abuse other countries' children and then return home. Well, by traveling abroad and purchasing these children to abuse, they've either wittingly or unwittingly funded that illicit trade. And so other children are obtained and brought into harm's way for future clients and customers. So, and then other children are brought here, sadly, for American, the elites and predators to abuse. So it's a problem here, but it's a problem everywhere, and it's a very international, cross-border kind of thing, man. And there's a lot of it coming to and from. So it's not just here. So I can see where other people are paying attention, and I'm flattered and grateful to see other people paying attention and supporting us, man. I get letters from all over the world and encouragement. So it's inspiring and encouraging me to just keep at it and stay on the mission for the kids.
And another thing that people don't understand that's driving a lot of this too is the fact that this is a business. I mean, this is a big business out there for people to be trafficking children, trafficking, humans. I mean, this is big business for those people. And I'm going to kind of go off on a weird jag here, but only because I've never really heard anyone ask this question or think about this. But one of the most famous movies ever, I think just about everyone's seen it, is called Taken with Liam Neeson, where his daughter goes overseas, gets tricked by, a smooth-talking man overseas, and then gets abducted and taken into a human trafficking ring. And in that movie, it's basically indicting governments running the whole thing and royals funding the whole thing. Now, I get it. That's just a movie. But I'm curious, do you think there's an element of truth to that? I mean, through your experience, I mean, how accurate would you say the depiction of human trafficking is in that famous movie?
Well, what we're learning is that it goes all the way to the top. That's why I believe President Trump has so much resistance, so many of the elites with so much of the money and influence over media and in our legal systems and everything else have one foot in that illicit trade. They benefit from it. I'm hearing $30-something billion a year annual revenue from child trafficking. So there's a lot of people making a lot of money, and not just the money, but the political leverage that they gain by brownstoning operations. So in other words, blackmail of other people of influence that they want to control, whom they film doing inappropriate acts with minors. So there's a lot of control and political horsepower that comes from it in addition to just the revenue, Owen. So yeah, it's high level. I wouldn't fault that writer of Taken too much. I think he probably got that information on a pretty good source, and it sadly looks pretty accurate to me.
Now, again, the site is vetsforchildrescue.org, vetsforchildrescue.org. Please share that website and support them. What do you think is next, Craig? Now, obviously, you guys are working really hard on the ground. President Trump signs the executive order where they can start to freeze some of these assets of people involved in these human trafficking rings. Are you expecting something big here? Final 60 seconds. What do you think is next with this movement to stop this human trafficking abuse?
I think a big roundup is next. Oh, in 60 seconds, let's see. I know of a bunch of billionaires out of Texas that have disappeared and bolted left the country, apparently trying to avoid justice. It looks like Trump is on it, like they've pulled the pin on this justice grenade. So I hope and pray and believe that there's a big roundup in the works right now as we speak.
I kind of have the same feeling, and I think that this is the calm before that storm. Wow, excellent news from Craig Sawyer. Great reporting, great work. Again, vetsforchildrescue.org. Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. And folks, it's amazing to be living in these times where men and women of drive and passion and influence are fighting the good fight. That's what this is all about. It's about Americans standing together and fighting the good fight, and that's how we will have victory. Welcome back to the War Room. Jack Posobiec is my guest now. And if you follow Jack Posobiec on Twitter, you know that he lights up the liberals all day long. Now, I've got a tweet here. I don't know if Jack has seen this yet, so I may be showing Jack something he hasn't seen yet, but this is big. Emily McCombs, a editor at Huffington Post, Emily McCombs, tweeted out her New Year's resolutions. 1, cultivate female friendships. 2, band together to kill all men. Awfully loving, and certainly not a violation of Twitter's user standards. So we better watch out, Jack. Emily McCombs is going to try to kill all of us.
Yeah, so, and this is exactly what the left-wing media does. And by the way, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's been a while since I've been on. I just got back from my honeymoon. I was over in Israel, got to visit the Holy Land, just came back. Absolutely, absolutely amazing to visit the Holy Land,
huge.
To visit Israel.
It was huge.
It was huge. And now I've come back and we're seeing now the Huffington Post editor, the actual editor, right, of the paper is saying that her New Year's resolution is to band together and kill all men. And we've seen this before from the left. They'll put up tweets like that using absolutely violent rhetoric, using all sorts of anti-male, and it's funny, it's crazy because I feel like every time I'm on with you, we end up talking about some kind of anti-male narrative that's going on, and this specifically is talking for essentially the genocide of all men, everyone of a certain gender. But then when you go back and hit them on it, they'll say, oh, I was just being satirical, or this is just Poe's law, and I was clearly being sarcastic, even though there's nothing in my tweet to indicate sarcasm, or they'll say you took it out of context. I meant it in the grander context of some other such thing. And this is what happened with Sam Seder when I found his tweet that said that he was talking about basically making daughter rape jokes. He was fired by MSNBC, then brought back because they said, oh, it was just a joke. Well, I'm sorry, I don't quite see the humor in daughter rape, and I don't quite see the humor in banding together to kill all men. Because, Owen, you know that if you or I slipped up and said something that could even be construed as that on Twitter, we'd be banned, and there would be pitchforks and torches outside of our houses.
Oh yeah, you call for a wall, and you know you're a bad person. But I want to be perfectly clear here because I understand that I'm actually feeding right into Emily's goals here. Really, she's just nothing more than an attention whore. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. She's just an attention whore, and the only reason she
wanted
tweets,
her name to be on InfoWars. He just wanted her name on InfoWars.
So we did what she wanted. We did her a favor. We talked about her because that's all she really wants because she's a nothing and she's a loser. But it's funny to me, the real, obviously the whole look at me, like, oh, I'm Emily McCombs. I want to be crazy. I want to be a shock jock. But the sad truth of this is, people like Emily Combs are so bitter and so hateful that they can't have a healthy relationship with a man. They hate men. No men like them. No men want to be with them. They hate men. So what they do is, it's an example of misery loves company, where they just go on the full bore stand against men because no men can stand them.
Yeah, it's one thing that you see as well from the left in terms of just their emotional mindset. To borrow a word from a certain friend of mine, they have this hatred, this burning outrage they wake up with every single day that drives them to even, especially during the Trump era, to become even more and more deranged in their leftism. We've now got leftists screaming at puppets at Disney World of President Trump, the animatronic Trump. They're screaming at it as if they're going to be saying something to the president himself. They're waking up and they can't even go outside because there's so much burning hatred that they have. And meanwhile, they'll turn around and say to us, well, President Trump had a dog whistle. and the dog whistle was towards violence and anger. Meanwhile, they're the ones that are actually talking about violence. They're the ones actually being angry, and no one's saying anything about it. I think we got the video here of the puppet screaming, the great puppet screaming.
Yeah, I was wondering, Jack. I mean, we thought that they reached peak madness when they cried for 2 weeks after Hillary lost. Then they kept protesting, and we thought that was peak madness. Then they got violent and started rioting and burning things and looting, and we thought that was peak madness. Then they literally screamed at the sky, and we thought that was peak madness. Now listen to this. This is a man screaming at a robot Trump.
Lock him up! Lock him up!
Is this peak madness, Jack? Could it get any worse?
And at some point, I think, does the Disney staff, I guess he cuts it off, but I have to imagine the Disney staff came up to him at some point and said, "Sir, that's a puppet. That's not actually the president of the United States. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
that's
sir.
that's an animatronic robot, sir. You're embarrassing yourself."
It's a script. It's a pre-programmed script, sir. Just move along. Move along to the I wonder if they kicked him out. I don't know if they trust him around It's a Small World after the puppet screaming that if he couldn't handle the Hall of Presidents, I don't know if I'd trust him around It's a Small World.
Well, I don't know, Jack. I think they might have offered him a job.
Oh gosh, yeah, Disney, you're right.
You got to think about that. He could be running the whole park now.
Yeah, for all we know, they're making him the new CEO, creative director.
Exactly. Or maybe he's in charge of the animatronics department, which, by the way, I think everyone agrees by now that they clearly made a Hillary Clinton animatronic and then at the last minute had to make a President Trump one because it really is. So it's almost even funnier. He's basically screaming at what was supposed to be Hillary Clinton saying, "Lock her up." I mean, I'm sorry.
You almost have to give the left credit, Owen, because we always think that with every level of their madness, we say it couldn't get worse than this. We always say this is clearly the left at rock bottom. And to some extent, we thought that they hit that, and literally in some cases, on November 8th of 2016, the day that President Trump became the next president of the United States. But we've seen now for the next year, they have gone through the different cycles and circles of hell as they've descended deeper and deeper into this madness, and they keep proving us wrong. And honestly, I am impressed. I'm going to say I am impressed to the left, and I'm going to say congratulations on proving me wrong so many times in 2017 that you could be even crazier and even more deranged than I ever could have given you credit for. Congratulations. My hat's off to you.
Well, and we're making light of this, but I want to get real serious for a second. One, you know, these people really have mental disorders. They need serious help. But two, I think the next step for them, and I'm serious about this because I think some big stuff is about to be exposed here, and you can guess what I'm alluding to. But I think the next state of madness for the left is going to be siding with pedophiles.
Well, we've seen this so many times, and very interestingly enough, these articles that seem to go up on New York Times or go up on Salon and then suddenly get deleted, or they suddenly get memory hold. I believe it was Salon or Slate, I forget which one off the top of my head, but had that up there that said, well, pedophilia it's a mental disorder, and we need to come to terms with it and help them. And now they're talking. There was just a professor out in Belgium that gave a big speech about how pedophiles should be given child sex bots so it can help them to deal with their pedophilia, and they should actually be going down. It was so in Salon, so they could actually be given the bots so they can have sex with the child bots, so they won't be going after actual children. Well, I'm sorry, but that's also all of this is going towards normalizing pedophilia, which I'm sorry, I don't think there's anything that could be possibly worse than people targeting our children like this.
Yeah, it's really shocking. And again, we've already kind of seen that trend, as you were saying, with the New York Times and Salon writing these articles basically defending pedophiles, saying they're not bad. See, that's what I'm saying. Who would even want to write something like that? Who would even want to side with something like that? Who would want to take that stand? Even if you believe that, even if you thought, okay, pedophiles just have a mental disorder, or pedophiles just need a child sex robot or whatever. Well, what the hell is wrong with you?
They have to turn that into their editors, and the editors have to say, yeah, this is a great article. Well, let's run with it.
Oh, yeah, no one will think this is offensive. No one will think we're crazy for standing up for pedophiles. Yeah, good luck with that. But I'm dead serious. I think huge things are going to expose: pedophilia, child sex trafficking. And obviously, I think Trump's going to be behind it. And I think they're still going to hate Trump, and they're going to side with the pedophiles because the instilled hatred in them for Trump is so deep and so hard that they cannot get rid of it. Well, this is the final segment of the War Room for 2017. And before Jack and I get into what we're going to talk about here, I just want to say 2017 was an incredible year here at InfoWars. And I just want to say it was amazing. It was an amazing experience for me. And I want to thank all of the people that I met, all the people I meet when I'm out and about, all the people that tell me they pray for me and they pray for InfoWars and they pray for us here. I want to thank all the people out there that support us at InfoWarsStore.com. I want to thank all the people that support us by sharing our links, by telling our family and friends. Seriously, I cannot express gratitude properly here because it really is just beyond words what you guys mean to us here at InfoWars. And it's just amazing. I can't believe the people I meet. I cannot believe how, I mean, just the livelihood, and their souls are alive. Their passions are burning, and they just want to create, and they want to build, and they want to have strong families and strong communities. And everybody is rising up right now together for victory. And again, I just want to say thank you to everybody I met out there. And I hope that every day here when we go live, not just at the War Room, but the Alex Jones Show and David Knight, I just hope that you guys know that we want to make you happy. We want to make you proud, and we want to come through for you. And we will continue to in 2018. So thank you so much for all of your support. You guys really are the blood, the air, the bones, just everything that makes InfoWars. And right now at InfoWarsStore.com, you already know we've got huge New Year's specials. You got free shipping. And just, I mean, look at all these things. Half off Super Male Vitality, half off Brain Force Plus, half off Alpha Power, half off Cell Force, half off Survival Shield, half off Vitamin Mineral Fusion, half off the Real Red Pill, half off Super Blue Toothpaste, half off Vitamin B12, Secret 12. I mean, the list just goes on and on. But again, just the utmost gratitude, the utmost reverence, and just thank you all so much out there for supporting InfoWars and for making 2017 so great. And we will not let you down in 2018. Jack, this is the final segment of the War Room for this year. So I was thinking, let's just kind of look back on the year 2017 and everything that was exposed. To me, I think the biggest thing that was exposed, which is undeniable proof that the FBI, colluding with the DNC and the Clinton campaign, tried to steal an election from the American people.
Yeah, Owen, and just kind of to piggyback off what you're saying, don't sell yourself short, man. But you working with Alex to take this show, The War Room, and to launch it and to build it into the strong engine for justice and freedom and liberty that it is. It's been amazing to see through 2017. So congratulations to you and to everyone who works on War Room, the staff, the crew, on so much of the success that I've seen with it.
Give the staff
everybody,
some love.
you know, take a bow. Everybody behind the scenes. People have no idea how much time it goes into this, and they put so much of their time, their livelihoods, people changing schedules around. It's amazing to see, and it's been amazing to watch you guys give birth to this show.
Well, but, but it's amazing too because we control the narrative now. I mean, that is the most amazing thing. Jack Posobiec controls the narrative when he takes on the liberal establishment and the liberal press. InfoWars controls the narrative when we report on Obama stealing money to fund Obamacare. We are the news now. Look at us. Look at Jack Posobiec. He's the news now.
Exactly. And if it wasn't for independent news like us, you would not see stories like this massive scandal with the FBI that dwarfs Watergate. Actually trying to steal an election from the American people, to steal it away, completely dwarfs. I mean, there's so many microcosms of this that we can go back and look throughout, and there's so many ways that you can't even put almost the entire story together. But what it really comes down to, and the simple way of saying it is, the deep state tried to rig the system against President Trump. What he said all throughout the campaign and was ridiculed and mocked. And what I would come on with you on InfoWars here and explain to people what was going on, the lies, the fake polls, everything that was pushed to stop him from being in office. Later, we found out about the wiretapping, all of this stuff that they threw at President Trump, and they still couldn't stop him. He still couldn't be beaten because the American people woke up, because they became activated, that they decided to become the masters of our own destiny once again, to take back through a peaceful revolution the reins of power in our country from these moneyed elites and actually give power back to the people. That's what happened in 2016. In 2017, we're now just, even today, with these emails that were just released from Huma Abedin that the FBI recovered on apparently Anthony Weiner's laptop, classified emails. This is something that, Owen, if you, I, or anyone in our listening audience had committed this crime, we'd be locked up. We'd be thrown away. That's it. That'd be the end of us. But when it's Huma Abedin, oh no, it's perfectly fine for her to have classified emails at home because she was just asking her husband to print them out. And this is the type of stuff that we saw going on between the elites in power. And when it came to people that I knew in the Navy who, took a picture on the ship where they worked, all of a sudden they get sent to prison for something that is far, far less damaging than these highly classified emails were that Huma apparently had at home on her husband's laptop. Well, her husband's been locked up. Will she be? Will she face any consequences because of this? Will James Comey have anything to say because he had them under investigation specifically for misuse of classified emails, but declared everything to be a complete wash and gave them a clean bill of innocence? Well, let's see what's going on. Let's see the obstruction of justice. Let's see any of it. This story, which hasn't gone away all year, is the real collusion that they would love us to stop talking about. But Owen, I'm not going to stop talking about it. How about you?
No, not until at least Hillary Clinton is in jail. And I want to take this one step further. Not only did they try to steal this from President Trump, they tried to steal it from the American people. Trump is the conductor of this train that we're all charging forward on, but we're the passengers. We are all on this train together. We are the ones that put Trump in office. They wanted to negate our vote. They wanted to negate our opinions. They wanted to negate our voices. And even with everything that they tried everything they possibly could, America still triumphed.
What else could they have done? Really, what else could they have done to stop President Trump from getting office and winning the White House? And so now we're seeing that he's got the White House and they're still trying to trip him up. They're still trying. Oh, and I just got some information from one of my sources that the president is, even to this day, worried about being bugged in now even the Oval Office. And that when he wants to have sensitive conversations, he wants to talk about sensitive issues, he goes out of the Oval Office to talk to people because he doesn't even trust his own Oval Office. He's worried about Mueller going in, putting wires on people. He's worried about microphones hit all over the place. This is not the kind of person. And then they'll go back and say, well, what's Trump gotten done? I turn around and say, look what he's gotten done in spite of all of the roadblocks and the obstacles and the obstruction that's been placed in his way.
Well, didn't they ask Papadopoulos to wear a wire?
It really looks like they did at this point. I don't know if that's been 100% proven, but if you look at the totality of evidence in the Papadopoulos situation, I don't read that as any other way than basically him getting burned and then put up by Mueller or whoever at DOJ/FBI to basically be a plant within the Trump campaign to say basically entrap people by saying, hey, let's reach out to Russia. You want me to reach out to Russia? I'll reach out to Russia today. And then all he has to do is get one person to say yes, and suddenly there's this collusion narrative and they can say it's been confirmed, even though it was your own guy basically trying to entrap people.
Yeah, so in 2017, we found out that it wasn't the Russians that tried to rig our election. It was Hillary Clinton and the Democrats and Obama's DOJ and the FBI caught red-handed trying to rig the election. Now, Jack, final 60 seconds. What are you looking forward to in 2018?
In 2018, I am looking forward to taking back even more control of our country because we've got huge midterm elections. The left is highly motivated, but I think that the populists, the Americans, the nationalists are going to come out to vote because they understand there's people even in the Republican Party and as well as, of course, in the Democrat Party that do not need to have jobs anymore. So I think we should relieve them of their burdens and kick them out of the United States Congress.
Could not agree more. Jack Posobiec, fresh off of his honeymoon, looking good. Jack, Happy New Year.
There it is. There it is. Got the wedding ring. Oh, boy. Lockdown. Happy New Year, man.
Oh, my gosh, a conservative.
Happy solstice. Happy solstice.
Oh, happy winter solstice, too. But Happy New Year, Jack. I'm sure we'll be speaking much more in 2018. We sign off of the War Room for the crew, for everyone at Infowars.com. Thank you so much. Happy New Year, and you stay classy, Info Warriors.
I want to apologize to listeners. I lied to you when I told you Trump would win the election, and he did. I lied to you when I told you that they're admitting that fluoride's causing brain damage, and it turned out I was right. I lied to you about a global government existing that was trying to take control of our country, which they now admit is true.
Is this global governance at last? Is it one world, the central bankers in charge?
I guess, actually, I didn't lie to you. And I'm on air every day fighting the globalists as they try to shut down free speech in America, as they try to derail our recovery, as they try to fold us into their world government, open up our borders, hand us over to the Islamic Caliphate. But I'll tell you this, when I'm on air, I wear a sports jacket and a nice shirt because I respect the fact that you're tuning in and watching and listening to what I have to say. That we're involved in very, very important activities. And that's why I want to reach out to you right now and explain something that's so critical. And that if you grasp it, we'll be able to literally turn the tide even faster against the globalists. And it's just this. I'm not always wearing this, ladies and gentlemen. I dress like this to politically get messages out to folks that aren't awake, to spur debates, but to also meet like-minded people who are out there feeling like they're alone and don't know how many of us there are. It's like Martin Luther King said, it's all of us of one human race who all have incredible skills and gifts that God gave us that we bring together in the human family to do incredible things. A few months ago, I saw media demonizing folks that put up signs at universities that said, all lives matter. Then they demonized people that said, it's okay to be white. These are at universities where they're saying it's inherently evil and an abomination and satanic to be white. Right outside Austin, Texas. Texas State University says that. Most major universities are directing this to create racial division in this country, and it's sickening. That's why I have designed with our crew several new limited edition t-shirts that expose this evil and fight true institutional, leftist-based racial division and classical race war designs. Yeah, if you're just talking about how you're white or how you're black, it's okay. That's fine to be proud of yourself. But isn't it really great to realize we all got red blood? That's why the shirt is in red. Out here in space together, the dark blue of the night sky, but all of our red blood together ties us together, and that's what makes us great. The globalists are creating a fake debate to turn us against each other. Let's come together and say all lives matter. The fact is, it's not just okay, it's great to be human. Let me show you a few of the other designs we've got. They're available at InfoWarsStore.com. They help spread the word, and they help support the broadcast, a total win-win. This shirt is white. Whoa. And you've got major universities, major publications like BuzzFeed saying, is milk racist because it's white? So yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's a white shirt that says it's okay to be white, okay to be black, okay to be brown, but it's great to be human. Now, here's a really racist shirt that Martin Luther King would agree with, but that the modern leftists would absolutely hate. It says all lives matter, and it exposes the institutional racism the left and Soros are bringing in to literally take minorities and turn them into the equivalent of brown Ku Klux Klan. This shirt is amazing, it's iconic, and it's limited edition. They're all available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. And despite the fact that all these shirts are super high quality and are destined to be bestsellers, through Christmas, we're offering 25% off at InfoWarsStore.com on these limited edition shirts.